Bonjour, mes amis. Welcome, everyone, to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, know that you are welcome. I'm the Reverend Eric Meader, this congregation's lead minister, and I'm joined by our worship associate Susan, and Elizabeth is leading our music for us this morning. It says above me, Credo, this I believe. The slide before said that Alex was going to be our speaker today. I got a call from Alex's wife, Marlene, as I was finishing shaving just after 8 o'clock. She had to call the EMS squad. It does not look like the concern is Alex's heart, but a reaction, perhaps an infection from a procedure he had on Friday. I am sure all of you who know Alex will join me in extending our love and care to both Marlene and Alex, and I look forward to touching base with them later today. In honor of Marlene, Alex, and this Pride weekend, we now light our chalice to these words from Betz Weinecke. It's not bright enough, I didn't see it. May this flame in a chalice bowl, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susan, and I am pleased to serve as worship associate this morning. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or are taking part in this worship celebration from your home or somewhere else, whenever you log in, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those who are willing to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch during this pandemic, which has not yet left us. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall and would like more information about FirstU, it is available from Jane at the welcome table at the rear of the pews. Without further ado, let us begin by raising our voices in song. Please rise as you are willing and able to sing Bring Many Names, hymn number 23 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screen above us, right there.
Celebrate
here is Guy from our board with today's announcements. Guy?
Well, good morning and happy Pride. A special welcome to all who are members of the 2S LGBTQIA community and to all of those who do the work to be an ally. Before I step into the board announcements, I'm going to invite Donna Bowen-Willard to come and give us a special announcement from Environmental Action.
Hi all. It's obvious September is working its way around, and we're just going to work our way in slowly with a reminder. If you noticed in the EUU and in the Climate Action page today, there was a big announcement. The Global Climate March, which is a yearly thing put on by Fridays for Future, which is a student-run organization. They're having a protest. This year it will be on Friday. It's always on Fridays, on September the 15th at 1 o'clock at Parliament Hill. There won't be a parade this year, but people will be meeting on the Hill. It's a big thing for students. It's being run by a group of very active young Ottawa people this year. Mike Fletcher is still involved, and if anyone would like to help out, they're looking for people to make posters, marshals, that kind of thing. Either get in touch with Mike or go to the Fridays for Future website and volunteer there. Anyway, we hope to have a good showing this year of people coming out. And further information, take a look at the Climate Action page. Thanks.
So a note from the Renewal Task Force. Huge thanks to all who have stepped forward to help already with the Welcome Home Fish Fry, which is coming up in a week and a bit on Thursday, September the 7th. We still need 3 or 4 more volunteers. The 2 volunteer shifts are roughly from 3:30 to 5:15 and from 5:15 to 7 p.m. The fish fry itself runs from 4:30 to 6:30. And you can now purchase advance tickets this Sunday and next and beat the rush. They're on sale in Fellowship Hall after the service, right through those doors right there. $20 for adults and $10 for children. I'll be there, Megan will be there, Reverend Eric will be there. I hope to see you all there as well. Registration is still open for the Canadian Unitarian Council's Young Adult Retreat known as Unicamp. Unicamp will happen September the 8th to the 11th in Honeywood, Ontario, northeast of Toronto, and is open to all young adults aged 18 to 35. I miss it by that much. You can register on the you're not supposed to laugh that loudly. You can register on the CUC's website, and I was informed this morning that there is funding available from the church for both registration and for travel expenses. So if you're interested and you're a little financially strapped, please contact our finance manager, Michelle, for some additional details. And please plan to join FirstU's Uni the Unicorn in the Capitol Pride Parade downtown later today. Wear your brightest colors, bring a water bottle, and meet on the Laurier Avenue Bridge near City Hall by 1 p.m. If you haven't guessed, I plan on being there. During our ongoing challenges with COVID, yes, it is not left yet, we encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter, to check our Facebook and Instagram pages, and our webpage for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, with online and in-person options. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and whoever you are, today you are part of our spiritual community, and you are most welcome. And I now invite Ann Nagy to come up and read our Time for All Ages story.
Thank you, Guy. This story is called Sophia's Guest. Once upon a time, there was a teacher named Sophia. She'd been a teacher in this town for so long that kids from her first years of teaching now were sending her their kids to be in her class. So nearly everybody in town knew Sophia, and they loved her, because not only was she an excellent teacher, she was also very kind. One day when Sophia went to school, she found a note on her desk. The note read, "Dear Sophia, I will be around tomorrow. I wonder if I might stop by your house for afternoon tea tomorrow. Your friend, God." Well, at first Sophia thought it was a joke, but then who would play a joke like that on her? She couldn't think of anybody. Then she thought, what if it isn't a joke? What if God really was going to come to her house tomorrow? She figured she'd better get ready just in case. So on her way home from school, she stopped by the store and bought a beautiful big welcome mat. Then when she got home, she cleaned her house from top to bottom. She brought in fresh flowers from her garden, put them in a vase in the living room. Everything was ready. But then in the morning, she realized she didn't know what God liked to eat. So she made some delicious smelling soup, and she baked some cookies. Did God like hot tea or iced tea? She thought she'd better make both kinds, and what if God's favorite thing in the world was lemonade? She'd make some of that too. She was so nervous. She didn't know what to expect. As she was putting the lemonade in the fridge, she heard a knock at the door. Her heart went. She went to the door, took a big breath, opened the door slowly, and on the other side was the mayor. "Hello, Sophia. I was just walking by and smelled something delicious. I thought maybe I'd better check it out." Sophia said, "I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor. You might want to meet him. Please, come in and make yourself at home." Sophia put the kettle on, and then she sat with the mayor, had a nice chat, when there was a knock at the door. Sophia's heart went. She took a deep breath, opened the door slowly, and on the other side was a group of children from her class. "Hello, Miss Sophia. We were walking by and we noticed the smell of cookies." Sophia said, "I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor whom you might like to meet. Come in and help yourself to some cookies." The children were giving the mayor some much-needed advice when there was a knock on the door. Sophia's heart went. Deep breath, open door. It was the entire Women's Discovery Group from the church. "Hello, Sophia. We heard the tea kettle and laughter and thought you might be having a party." Sophia said, "I'm so glad you're here. Come in, come in. I'm expecting a very important visitor you might like to meet. Please come in and make yourself at home." Well, all afternoon, people stopped by Sophia's house, lured by the yummy smells and the happy sounds. The townspeople filled her house upstairs and downstairs and overflowed into the backyard and the front yard. As they got hungry, they made dinner together and ate as the sun set and the moon rose. It was a great party. People were playing games and telling stories and cooking and playing music and talking together. Sophia had such a nice time that she completely forgot about her very important guest. But as she waved goodbye to her friends at the end of the night, she wasn't disappointed. She only felt contentment at having such a lovely party. In the morning, Sophia woke up and remembered everything. She was confused. What had happened to God? All during her walk to work, she tried to figure out what had happened. Along the way, she smiled and waved to the people she ran into who'd been at the party. She thought to herself, she really should do that again sometime. When Sophia arrived at school, she was surprised to find another note on her desk. It read, "Dear Sophia, I had such a wonderful time yesterday. The bread was delicious. The cookies were divine. Tea mixed with lemonade is my very favorite. Thank you for being such a wonderful host. I hope we can do it again soon. Love, God.
Alex chose that story, and that may be a lot better than the sermon you're going to hear from me later. We pause each week in our time together in recognition of both the joys and the challenges, the blessings and the sorrows in our lives. We honor these celebrations by placing a stone in a bowl of water, or stones in bowls of water, like those before us now. The ripples, as you see, will easily go to the edge of the bowl, and we can easily imagine them spreading beyond, through the pews, out the doors, out into the world in which we share. A stone of care and support for our member Carmen, who is recovering from COVID with the help of her family. An update on Werner. Unfortunately, he also caught a mild case of COVID in the hospital, slowing his recovery from a stroke. That said, he is still in fine spirits. And we think also of Alex and Marlene this morning as well. We invite you to come forward now in silence and place a stone in a bowl for any joy or sorrow that is on your heart. For all that has been shared and all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our heart, we give notice. Caring cards for Alex and Werner are at the back of the hall at the caring table for all of us to sign. Even if you don't know them, signing your name to the card, adding a little note, is a way of showing appreciation for all they have done to keep this community as loving and as vital as it is. I invite you now into a time of stillness and reflection. After a few moments, Elizabeth will bring us back together through the gift of music.
This morning's centering words were chosen by Alex. One of the founders of our modern-day Unitarianism, William Ellery Channing, had this to say about our likeness to God way back in 1828 in an address in Providence, Rhode Island. The germs of sublime virtue are scattered liberally on our earth. How often have I seen, in the obscurity of domestic life, a strength of love, of endurance of pious trust, of virtuous resolution, which in a public sphere would have attracted public homage. I cannot but pity the person who recognizes nothing godlike in her or his own nature. I see the marks of God in the heavens and the earth, but how much more in the human mind, a liberal intellect, in magnanimity, in unconquerable rectitude, in philanthropy which forgives every wrong and which never despairs of the cause of Christ in human virtue. I do, and I must, reverence human nature. I thank God that my own is bound up with that of the human race. And now please rise as you are willing and able to join in singing God Who Fills the Universe, number 37 in the Gray Hymnal.
Having learned that Alex was not going to be with us this morning, just before the start of our service today, one of you asked me, "So will you be reading Alex's words to us?" And I had to say, no, I don't have them. There was no time when the paramedics arrived for them to send an email. And, many colleagues of mine would have gone into their file and pulled something out and offered that. That's never been my style. I remember a few months into the first year in my first pastorate, after preaching for the first time extemporaneously, I had a few notes, but I had chosen that day, I just couldn't come up with a script. And so I preached from notes. And afterward, the church treasurer, who worked at the Lawrence Livermore Nuclear Weapons Lab and had worked for the CIA, I'm not making this up, said, "Eric, that letter I left in your mailbox, you can tear that up." To which I said, "Richard, I hadn't checked the mailbox yet. What did you write to me?" And in handwriting for 4 pages, he had written, "Eric, you've got to get off your script. You got to get off your script. Talk to us. Your ideas are good, but you're not with us in the way that I know you can be." So, as I drove in this morning, I said, "Eric, what are you going to do?" Thank you for laughing, Guy. I appreciate that. It's a good laugh. I said, "Well, we don't know. I hadn't heard an update yet on what might have caused his medical emergency this morning. And so I wanted to be careful, and I thought, well, maybe what I have to talk to people about is just an open question, what we learn along the way. What we learn along the way. And I'll share some anecdotes from my life and maybe too a bit of a nugget of wisdom that I pulled from them. And then if I don't go on too long or you seem at all interested, maybe we'll pass the mic again and see what wisdom you have to offer. What I learned along the way is that one of the things, and there are probably some I wouldn't share with you, especially on a Sunday morning, but is that the world is open to possibilities. I've told a couple stories several times, and you've probably heard, some of you have probably heard this. But I credit the lay-led congregation that my parents and my family was when I was a child with teaching me how to use chopsticks. There was an international food luncheon after church one day, and there was, on one hand, on a dais, a bowl full of colorful M&Ms. And they said, "Eric, you can have as many M&Ms," maybe I was 7. "You can have as many as you want, but you have to use chopsticks." I had never heard of chopsticks before. I had never seen them. And an important lesson in economics, an incentive. I learned how to use chopsticks. If you can use chopsticks to get M&Ms, it's not so hard with rice and other stuff that's bigger. So I learned in church that day that life is about manifesting and enjoying the possibilities. Now, not all possibilities are as sweet and as welcome as M&Ms when you're a 7-year-old boy. But they can be. They can be. A few years later, during the end of what the congregation that we then attended called confirmation class, that's an old-fashioned term, we now call it coming of age, but before we got that language and that curriculum, it was confirmation class, and I was one of maybe 4 or 6 youngsters, 12, 13 years old, up on the church podium, and we were being asked questions in front of the whole congregation. And someone asked me, "Eric, why do you come to church?" And I was like, I hadn't prepared an answer to that question, and that morning I was feeling a little precocious, so I said, "Because my parents make me," which sparked some laughter. But perhaps for the first time in my life, I realized people weren't laughing at me, they were laughing with me. And maybe these adults out there that I really only know as people Mom and Dad talked to after church when I wanted to go home for lunch, maybe they weren't so bad after all. Maybe they weren't quite so bad after all. And if people at church would laugh with me and say I could eat all the M&Ms I could, maybe this thing called church wasn't so bad. Years later, in the months before I left my first pastorate. Members of the church were involved in a 24-hour walkathon to raise money for breast cancer research at the track behind a local high school. And at that point, one of the members on the church board, I just found, had been angry at me for something I said 6 months before. And they were finally able to talk with me about it. And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, Donna and I, not this Donna, another wonderful Donna, and I walked along the track to talk it out. Now, I had wanted about midnight to go home. The high school was close enough to home. I was done. I was really tired. I just wanted to go home to my bed, and I was like, no, she needs to talk. We got to do this. And so I had gone home for something, and I walked back to the school, and there she was waiting for me. And we walked the track for about an hour. I don't remember what we said. I was asleep on my feet, but we had the conversation we needed to have to come back to right relationship with one another. Showing up is 98% of everything, to being present to one another, just like this mother is for their child. Oh, that's perfect. You can tell I'm someone whose big regret in life is never parenting myself. So I see something like that and I go, oh, what I missed out on. Our congregations are places where we can learn what it means to love. And that is probably something you've heard me say before, and it's probably something you'll hear me say again. And it sounds a little overblown, perhaps, a little overly general, but I think it's true. I'm sure there are other places where we can learn what it means to love, but here we keep coming back to help one another practice this art of loving ourselves, of loving each other, of loving strangers and neighbors. That's what we're about in Large Point. A place where we can keep coming back to bring our imperfect selves on coming indoors on such a perfect day. These days aren't going to last forever. Winter's going to come, but we're here before we go to Pride. And we share our beautiful faces there in company of others who take pride in what it means to love in every way imaginable. I'm beginning to ramble, folks. That's what I've learned along the way is it's not good to ramble too much. But I've learned that it matters. And it's better, I'm better, when we're together every now and then. Do any of you have anything burning to share about what you've learned along your way? Oh, we've got one. Susan, can I ask you?
I just reiterate what you said. The two most important things for me are loving and learning. And every moment is an opportunity for learning and loving. There's not a single moment that there isn't a time to love and learn. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Every moment is an opportunity. And even if we don't have the energy or can't find the gumption to take every opportunity, opportunities still will come around again. Maybe not the same, but opportunities will come around. Mo.
I've learned, and I am learning still, who myself is. I've learned to come into myself and to be myself and not to be afraid to be that. And I've also learned, especially in my later years, because of where I live now, the value of community.
Nina in the back.
I've learned it's not just an act of service to give help and support to other people, but also it's an act of service to ask for help and be open to receiving it.
Absolutely.
Eric, this subject reminds me of being in France at the time of 9/11, 2001, and the Sunday after those terrible events, being at the American church in Paris, where there was a very wise pastor at the time, and he talked about how some people had come to him and said, "This is the worst thing that's ever happened." And he said, I had to respectfully tell them, no, it wasn't. And I think the lesson there is that history can give us a very important perspective on things, both hopefully to avoid repeating mistakes, but also to find hope where we think there isn't hope by looking at the historical perspective and what history can teach us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Susan, thank you for this. I did not ask you to do this earlier.
You're doing a great job running the mic around. I was reminded, Eric, of something that has come to me as a lesson is it really is important if you're caught up, especially if you're in a leadership role, to be certain you're hearing the other side of an issue. About, 20 years ago here in the congregation, I and some others in leadership role, including the minister, got very caught up in we were very concerned about an issue, but then we stopped and heard the other side of it, and it made a tremendous amount of difference in understanding how to move forward, and that was one thing I wanted to share. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chuck. Jane.
Well, this connects to Chuck's, I think, a little bit. I think something I've learned is not to make assumptions about other people, or at least not to hold on to them when I make them. I still make them. But to find out, to look beyond the surface and find out what it's coming from. And I've realized that quite often I've interpreted something because of me, and it's not about them at all. And when I open up to their ways and their approaches, it's wonderful.
Anyone else this morning? Well, thank you for all you have shared. And thank you, Susan, for, I'm going to date myself by saying this, being our Phil Donahue, taking the mic around back and forth. You got a little more exercise you weren't expecting today. Thank you. Everything matters. Every person matters. And these communities like this one are where we come together and share both what we've learned along the way and a place where we can find inspiration from what other people have learned can help us as we face the next challenge that will come around the bend. What I've learned also is the importance of keeping windows open, listening for people who come from completely different perspectives. It's important to understand where other people are coming from as well, to hold our own sense a little more lightly, and to let space for inspiration be present for all of us. Thank you. Elizabeth, you've got some piano, and then Susan will return to the podium.
This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of people both within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or elsewhere, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of the congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that are being passed. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or to keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now Eric is going to introduce the next hymn.
Thank you, Susan. De Colores can be a tricky song for those to sing who aren't familiar in singing in the Spanish language. But what did I say earlier about practice? Alex chose this song for pride, for the colors of pride, the colors of love, the colors that we are, the spirit that we bring to the world. So let us bring together. Please rise in body or spirit as you will, and let's give this song our gusto.
So much I tell you, drifting like water.
Before we begin this time of worship and reflection, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall just out those doors immediately after our service. If you are here for the first time, or you have been here before but still feel a little new, if you pick up a green mug at the green mug table, which is the first thing you will see when you walk into Fellowship Hall, you can then fill it with coffee or tea at the main table. This will help us identify you so we can greet you individually. Other beverages are available at the counter. Our informal online fellowship hour remains on summer break. I think it will return next week. Also, leafy greens, a courtesy of the good folks of Ajaski, are available for anyone who would like some from the grow towers in the old volunteer room near Fellowship Hall. And now, as we prepare to extinguish this morning's chalice, may these words from John O'Donohue be our guide. May the frames of your belonging be large enough for the dreams of your soul. May you find harmony between your soul and your life. May the mansion of your soul never become a haunted place. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, mind you, and embrace you in belonging. This morning's chalice is extinguished, but the spark of our connections and faith remain. Elizabeth, singers, will you bless us once more? Reach out to those near and beyond us in this space. As now we return to the challenge of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward in peace, my friends. Go in peace, and I hope to see you at Pride. Take care.